Hello and welcome to the 7th devlog for the medieval fantasy game I'm making, where we have now officially entered the I hate everything about this game phase. So in order to get out of this slump, I need to identify the things that make me feel this way. Because when it's like this, it's usually due to an increasing amount of ugly and unfinished aspects of the game that are starting to overshadow everything else. After some investigation and paying attention to what I get annoyed at, I've narrowed it down to these 6 things. The mountains, the rivers, the locations, the dialogue UI, the missing links between the overworld and the fight scene, and the missing opponent AI. So let's start from the top of the mountain. I've already done some small tweaks to the mountain sprites that the artists have created, and the reason I'm editing them myself right now is because I'm not even sure which other specific tiles I need in order to build the kind of mountains that I want to see in the game. So once I figured that out, I can send them back to the artist to be polished up. I've been looking a lot at the Fire Emblem games and how mountains are done there. To show a change in elevation, they create these steps in the mountainside and shorten the distance to the ridgeline the higher up you go. Combined with cliffs, I think it gives a pretty good sense of altitude. Then for horizontal movement, they use many ridgelines, which is pretty conventional, but it's also interesting to see that there's this horizontal ridgeline that is used much more sparingly in combination with other directions. And here they also spread their cliffs out more, which I think looks a lot better. Now with these things in mind, I'm going to delete everything I have now and try again. So a few days have passed and I've been obsessing over these mountains for what feels like forever now, but I think I've finally understood how to create an interesting environment with the sprites that I currently have. For now, I've only added details to the top left part of the map, and I think I'll focus on this area and use it as a sort of vertical slice for the overworld until I'm more confident that I don't have to remake everything again. So what I did to make it seem like you're traveling up into the mountains was to add these steps here, similar to the Fire Emblem games. Together with some scattered placeholder cliff sprites and a winding road, I think it sells the idea that you're moving up in elevation, but I'm not really sure because I've been staring at this for so long that I don't even know what to think anymore. So I'd be interested to hear your opinion in a comment down below. Anyway, I also added a horizontal ridgeline that I can use to bring some directional variety to the mountains. Then later on there will be a transition into a snow biome up here, which will further communicate the change in altitude. Alright, I've rearranged the sprites and I'm ready to send them back to the artist together with some feedback. So moving on to the rivers, I want them to be less wide, although I can't make them too narrow since I still want it to feel like boats would be able to travel on them. So I'm thinking of something like 1 full water tile for the tributaries and 2 or 3 for the main river. Again, I'll focus mainly on the top left part of the map for now. I ended up tweaking the shape of the island city as well, since I was never really happy with how it looked. Then I completely forgot to transition from the ocean cliffs to the beaches at the river delta, and I used the transition tiles instead at the point where the tributary meets the main river. I'm not sure, but I think this might actually look better. However, the beaches are pretty heavy visually, so I'll try to make a quick edit to see how they would look if they were thinner. I'll also add more vegetation around the river since water is the source of life and everything. I'll grab these individual tree sprites and combine them into a few seamless tiles. As long as I don't overuse them, I think they should look fine. Now, this is starting to look pretty good in my opinion, but we still have the problem of certain location sprites being so big they make themselves seem more important than they really are. Like the camp and the lumberyard here, for example. So what I'll do is I'll split them up into several smaller versions instead. I've also combined the individual house sprites into a few different towns and villages. And as for the main city, I wanted to see how it would look to have it take up the entire island. I think the result is really great actually, but I'll leave it like this for a while just to see if I change my mind later on. One thing that needs to be dealt with now though is this menu UI, which is obviously a placeholder, but I've gotten tired of it nonetheless. So I've created a few new UI elements here that I can assemble into a menu. They're terrible, I know, but I just wanted to start bringing the UI art in some kind of a direction, any direction really. So I'm very much aware that I'm replacing the placeholder menu with another placeholder, but seeing as art for the UI might not fit into my budget for this game, I may be forced to make it myself, so it was definitely needed to get started on. I think the way it looks now will make me tolerate it for another few months, and that's all that matters at the moment. Now if you pick a fight with someone, I made it so that the data from the characters is brought along into the battle scene as well, and they will load their appearance and equipment accordingly. But after 5 months of development, the fact that there's still no opponent AI is not good. However, I'll put off making one a bit further though, because I figured I'm still not quite ready to begin work on it, so stay tuned for when that will happen. Next video will be a recap of everything done so far, and I'll also try to figure out what's left to do in order to finish the game. But that video probably won't be out for a while, since I'm going to take some time to focus 100% on just developing the game. Thank you for watching, take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.